best to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WASN,
the content capital.
Welcome back to AM Prime. Now, as mentioned in the introduction, this morning we're speaking to the coordinator of the Venezuelan Integration and Development Association, the VIDA project. She's with us via Zoom. Good morning, Ms. Ruiz.
Hi, good morning, Keaton. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this morning?
Excellent. Excited to be here. Excited to talk about the project and what we plan to do.
Well, precisely what is the VIDA project? What is its goals, its aims, its intentions?
Okay, good question, Mr. Shaw. So first of all, I'm one of the 3 coordinators of the project. This is a collaborative effort. Not with me today is Mrs. Lourdes Chirino and Mrs. Maria Chirino. And they are also coordinators of the project. I'm just representing them. So VIDA stands for Venezuelan Integration and Development Association. So together, we're working on promoting integration between the migrant and refugee community and the local Trinbagonian community. So one of our projects, which was highlighted in Newsday, was the Sustainable Agriculture Program, geared towards ensuring that migrant and refugee women, because there's a distinction between migrant and refugee, they have access to food security in a sustainable way.
Now, that's an excellent project, but one of the things that interests me from the article is identifying the most vulnerable to be a part of the program. How does VIDA go about identifying the most vulnerable? In fact, in VIDA's eyes, whom would you define as the most vulnerable?
Okay, so we partner, and we're actually we're all coordinators, myself, Ms. Lourdes Chirino, Maria Chirino. We are all coordinators in the Migrants and Refugee Ministry at the Santa Rosa and Malabar Roman Catholic parishes. And we partner because we utilize in cooperation the church's database system, and we have a very strict definition of, not definition, but we have a way of determining, okay, this person is vulnerable. Are they employed? Are they a single parent? Are they having to pay rent, and they may or may not be employed in a stable job? Do they have a contract at their job, or do they not? Is it just informal word of mouth contract that, okay, the boss can just fire them the next day? We have a number of determining factors of who would be the most vulnerable, and we have quite a few vulnerable migrants and refugees based on that. So that's one of the good things about partnering with and being part of an institution that genuinely seeks the welfare of this community.
Mm-hmm. Well, as part of the first cohort with the most vulnerable, did that include more so than others single Venezuelan migrants, women and single mothers?
Oh, definitely. One of the most amazing things was that we had a huge turnout of women, and that could be because, one, their partners are employed, right? Their husbands, their partners, etc., would have employment usually on a Saturday and or a Sunday. They work very hard, so that was one of the factors, but they came out and they were very, very interested in the project and participated to the maximum. We're really proud of them.
Mm-hmm. And beyond agribusiness and English as a foreign language, what other projects or should I say courses does VIDA hope to promote or plan to make available to the Venezuelan migrants?
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Thank you, Keaton, for that question. I was itching to address this. So we're looking at beauty culture, hairdressing, makeup application, manicure, pedicure, that kind of thing. We're also, we would love to partner with a local beauty school. We're in the process of actually, working on that. We're also looking at further English classes for the community, as well as translation projects of their legal documents, because that's a major thing. Many of them have their documents, but they're in Spanish, so they're not recognized unless they get a certified translator, which is quite expensive. Mm-hmm. And we'd love to offer this pro bono. We have some other projects in the pipeline as well besides these. Of course, it all takes a lot of planning and dedication on the part of everyone. And we all have full-time jobs. So it's about, just coordinating with everyone and working together on these projects. But those are some of the few. And before we go on to the next question, I just wanted to mention we are interested in partnering again with ATC, the Automation and Technology College, in creating a space where migrant and refugee children can access education. And ATC has been they've been very interested in providing that space.
Now, the entrepreneurial factor of this all, it goes just beyond integration within society. It also allows for further development in terms of one's entrepreneurial skills. Was that an intended target, or does that just fall into place nicely as part of the entire program and as part of VIDA's project?
Okay, I really like this question because one of the things we really want to develop is the entrepreneurial spirit, because it's not by accident. When you have a migrant situation like we have here in Trinidad, and it's a global thing now with what's happening internationally. I mean, just have a look at what happened in the Middle East is happening there, as well as Ukraine. We're facing these crises where we have large movements of populations across vast swaths of land, and they're displaced and they become vulnerable, right? So we don't want them to depend on assistance from any agency, right? Whether it's the UN or Living Waters or the Santa Rosa and Malabar Roman Catholic parishes, which has been very preeminent in assisting the migrant and refugee population in a Riemann environment. We want to, it's like teach a man a fish, give a man a fish and he, will continue to come back to you, but teach him to fish and he's going to be independent. And we want to give these people back their independence and their power, their strength. Because many of them, they want to work, they want to be integrated, they want to be part of society, they want to contribute. We have a lot of young people that, they're very much integrated into Trinidadian society. And the entrepreneurial spirit is one of the ways that we can access and pull out this inner desire to become part of, the larger society. Mm-hmm. So, yes, thank you, Keita.
No, that's excellent. But part of any sort of course or being an entrepreneur is putting your skills to work and testing such skills. I understand, if we could expand on this a bit more, that VIDA is also planning to host market days for those who are trained in agribusiness.
Yes, exactly. We would love to create that space for them to sell what they may have harvested from their vertical gardens, and not only what they may have harvested, but showcase any type of other talent that they might have, whether it's sewing or fashion or food, because it's through that space they can gain their own money. And we would invite locals as well. It's not just all about migrants and refugees, but as we're about integration and cooperation between both communities.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Reyes, yourself and the rest of VIDA's coordinators, as well as your partners, you all are doing your part. You all are working to ensure that there is opportunity for all. But certification, which is a part of this particular course, are you seeing a willingness from other entities or bodies to accept this certification and allow these migrant women who have actually graduated from such courses to test their skills? Entrepreneurial skills is one thing, but the certification part, is there an acceptance of such certifications?
So actually, that's a really great point. One of the key institutions that we're partnering with, which is the Automation and Technology College, an internationally recognized institution, and they've done a lot of training and retraining of migrant and refugee students who, they would have had those skills, they would have had that background in where, their homelands, their countries, whether it's Venezuela or Cuba, etc. They would requalify them for the local market. ATC is a locally and internationally recognized institution. We were able to partner with them to get certification for this project, and they have actually helped in job placement. They have assisted in job placement for many of those technical careers, whether it's solar panel installation, electrician, plumber, etc., and more technical careers, obviously. They've assisted in job placements, and we want to actually partner further with them and other institutions to ensure that hey, you know, it's not just about, okay, training people, but we would love them to get jobs. We want them to contribute to society, contribute to, you know, the economy, lead productive lives, not depend on a handout. And many of them are willing to do so. So, yeah, we have a great example in our partner institution, ETC, in helping us to do that.
Excellent. Now, forgive me if I'm being short-sighted. I'm just rather curious to know, in the instance of agribusiness, of which the particular article actually focuses on, some of these migrants may not have access to a garden area. In fact, they rent apartments and, you know, concrete jungles, as they say. So exactly how is this going to help them? I see you laughing because you know exactly what I mean. Exactly how is this going to help them if it is they don't even have access to the land space?
Well, Keaton, so that's a really great point there, because, you know, at first glance, you would think, hey, you need to have access to a huge land space to get anything done, right? But let's start small. Let's start simple, right? Not everybody has that access, right? One, you also looking at social factors that even locals have to contend with, like, as they say, quote unquote, gangsterism on these larger land spaces. You know, and it's safer for many of them, one, to do something that, even though it's small scale, it helps ensure a greater type of food security for these individuals, right? So these vertical gardens, you can have one or you can have 10. You can fill up your balcony with them. And you can plant your side, your tomatoes, your melon, your cucumber, your lettuce, your kale, you know, and they have seasonings that they particularly love, right? That they would plant as well, besides these, the parsley, the pimento, etc. And you can go from there. And then the other thing that we have to think about is that because it's women, many of whom may be single parents and they have, or mothers, and they have to be at home for large periods of time, it's better that we focus on what can immediately be done to relieve that need for food security, by using these vertical gardens that they can just, you know, hey, I'm going out on my balcony and watering my plants, harvesting my lettuce. And we've had many examples of our students. They've incorporated these seasonings, the harvest, into their food, into their salads, into their cooking, their dishes. So start small, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Well, like I said, forgive me for being a bit short-sighted. Thank you very much, actually, for that clarification, because you're absolutely right. But, you know, as we're getting to the concluding part of this conversation this morning, the assistance that VIDA is lending and the services that they're offering to Venezuelan migrants, the most vulnerable, to try and integrate them into society, to develop their entrepreneurial skills, to ensure that they have opportunity. That's excellent. I know you mentioned previously the Automation Technology College, which is internationally recognized. But beyond that, is VIDA getting the assistance it needs to carry out all these projects and to ensure there is a continuation of such?
Well, so our first cohort was funded by the Santa Rosa and Malabar Roman Catholic parishes. Migrants and Refugee Ministry was a generous donation on the part of a private donor. But we welcome, of course, anyone who wishes to volunteer their time, their energy, and of course, you know, we would love to partner with other institutions to develop more training programs. You know, we even would love to partner with the UE, especially for the certification our English professor is actually Mr. Ali Chirino. He was not only a former diplomat, Venezuelan diplomat, but he worked at the University of the West Indies as a Spanish lecturer. And he is part of the project teaching and assisting these students in English. So we definitely would love to partner across the board with other institutions. It's a work in progress, but we welcome collaboration.
Has there been greater acceptance, and this is, you know, from the experience of VIDA and also opinionated, has there been greater acceptance by Trinbagonians to welcoming Venezuelan migrants as part of society? Because as much as we do see them occupying so many positions and roles, many a times society has been xenophobic, has been very much even using the blame game for a lot of negative that does transpire. Are we seeing more and more that level of willingness and acceptance of Venezuelan migrants in Trinbago society?
So I can talk about this from personal anecdotal point of view. Statistically, of course, we always still have work that could be done, but compared generally to the mistrust of, let's say, 7 years ago to now, we even have more Trinidadians that are bilingual, a lot of young people who are learning Spanish, who are speaking Spanish, a lot of, even, the older generations, they're using the Spanish as well. I have a lot of hope. And that's our outlook as an organization. Vida means life. It means, it gives a sense of hope, right? That word gives you that sense that, listen, this is life. We've got hope. And we have a hope for a better future, not only for migrants and refugees, but for even Trinidadians with communities. So I would say, yes, there has been a greater acceptance on a personal, anecdotal level. Statistically, there's still challenges, of course, but there's much greater integration and understanding than 7 years ago, 5 years ago, from my point of view.
Well, Ms. Reyes, that's certainly a most fitting way to conclude this conversation. I want to thank you, as well as the rest of the team who are part of VIDA, for what you all are doing. I think this is excellent, and to all the partners who have associated themselves with VIDA for the kind contributions, donations, the help and the willingness. Such an excellent project, and I was quite pleased when I read of it and thought we need to highlight this a bit more. So thank you very much for all that you're doing, and thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Keaton. Thanks for inviting us.
Always a pleasure. Keep well, Ms. Reyes.
Okay, thank you.
That was Mr. Nazir Reyes, coordinator of the VIDA project here on AM Prime. An excellent, excellent initiative, and we can only lend our assistance and support for more. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here on AM Prime. When we return, we'll get into some more conversations. Stay tuned to the program.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
The best best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the program. Now this morning we're speaking to the president of the Sills Farmer Group, Mr. Benjamin Maraj, over solutions to dealing with predial larceny. As mentioned before, just quickly give you some information which is very much pertinent to the discussion. A study by Dr. Barbara Graham found that 82% of farmers and fishermen within CARICOM lost roughly 17.9% of their output to a total value of US $321 million. Well, Mr. Maraj is with us this morning. Good morning, sir. All right, have we lost Mr. Maraj? Is Mr. Maraj with us? All right, we're just trying to actually connect through to Mr. Maraj. Just to bear with us one moment, ladies and gentlemen, but just to inform you that the Sills Farmer Support Group actually have come up with a 9-point plan, actually a 7-point plan with suggestions for solutions to dealing with predial larceny. Such includes the Predial Larceny Act being amended, also the Ministry of Agriculture allowing for a grant access to greater technology, the Commission of Police dealing with farmers and issuing of firearm licenses to registered farmers, even with the badges that need to be available to registered farmers, as well as other parties who come into effect, that is trade badges for middlemen who buy and sell the goods. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break here on AM Prime because there's too much background noise with this telephone call, so we're going to take a quick break here, try and sort this out, and hopefully welcome Mr. Maraj in a moment. Stay tuned to the program.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit? Yes. What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, is for all of us in public.
Welcome back to the program. Ladies and gentlemen, I must apologize. We've had to actually postpone the interview with Mr. Mirage. We will welcome him again next week on the program, simply due to some difficulties that we've been facing here this morning in studio. But we do have a very hard-working technical team who are always up and running behind closed doors, trying to sort it out. Unfortunately, it seems as though there were issues on both ends this morning. Mr. Mirage was with us in the Zoom platform, but we weren't able to connect. So apologies for that, but due for time, we would move on and we would welcome Mr. Mirage again next week. So thank you very much for your patience and for staying with us here on AM Prime. As we now get into some regional updates, we'll start with Grenada. And as mentioned previously, the International Monetary Fund has advised the government of Grenada not to continue a tax amnesty program that it implemented on January 1st, 2023. Such program was due to come to an end on December 31st, 2023. At this point, the International Monetary Fund is advising that it end before such date. Let's take a look at this.
Tax amnesty was announced in the presentation of the 2023 budget statement by then Finance Minister Deacon Mitchell, who explained that millions were outstanding in taxes, late fees and penalties, and the amnesty was aimed at settling money owing to the government. However, the International Monetary Fund has advised the government of Grenada not to continue a tax amnesty program implemented on 1st January and scheduled to conclude on 31st December 2023. Hudden Lin, IMF Mission Chief for Grenada, in the just concluded Article 4 consultation of the IMF's Article of Agreement, said the government will have to enforce stronger collection policies.
By only saying it's not enough, the government will have to illustrate the stronger enforcement in collecting the tax. This will really signal that we want to strengthen the enforcement, and there's no concern. I guess you're concerned about the moral hazard issue, and we hear very, very strong commitment from the finance minister that it will be the last one.
The mission chief advised that this should be the last tax amnesty.
We emphasized several times to the government that this one should be the last one. Not only from the government's perspective, this is last one. It should be very deeply in people's mind and those who are owing tax to the government, this is the last one.
Ms. Lin went on to say that there has been significant improvement over the years in regards to tax collection.
We have been engaging with authorities on that matter for a while. It has been improving, and as you can see that the tax collection in the first quarter and in the past year, it has been quite good and in line with what you can see from the nominal GDP growth. That said, a lot of still there's some room for improvement in our tax collection.
She further highlighted some measures that can be utilized by the government to ensure better tax collection.
The administration office, they could also utilize some indicators to see whether there might be some risks in the tax collection by comparing the collection against the local activity, and that would be, for instance, imply for imports, etc., and to see early signal of possible tax not being collected and go after them.
The IMF mission chief for Grenada made the statements during a news conference on Friday. Nisha Peters, GBN News.
Moving across quickly as we continue with our regional updates to Antigua and Barbuda, Attorney General and the Public Safety Minister, the Honourable Stedroy Benjamin, has sought to assure the public of a robust response to the recent spate of violent crimes. He said the security forces will be vigorous in pushing back on violence producers, including prison inmates who are believed to be fomenting crimes from their prison cells. The AG also promises that the government will boost the capabilities of the police through the provision of more resources. This report coming from Antigua and Barbuda.
I want to promise all Antiguans and Barbudans, Antigua is known to be safe. Safe. You will be safe. We will make sure that we police effectively. You'll see police all over the place 24 hours a day. Sometimes you may not see them because we are now using unmarked vehicles.
An assurance from Attorney General and the Public Safety Minister, Honourable Stedroy Benjamin, even as rising crime has caused growing anxiety.
We have a zero tolerance to crime, and we shall make certain that we deal with the perpetrators effectively and well.
He tells ABS News law enforcers have information suggesting some of the crimes have been ordered from behind the prison walls.
We are confident from what we have observed so far that some of the detainees are persons who have been actively, in local parlance, hotting up the place. So we're going to hot them back up in the prison. And we are going to make sure that we keep that policy. We're going to keep that strength. We're going to keep those programs. We're going to put fire under the feet of those persons who deem to commit offences in Antigua and Barbuda.
The Attorney General says he cannot provide the details since the police are at a sensitive stage with their probe. There's also another trend being observed, which may be manifested in the number of minors being implicated in violent crimes.
I'm satisfied also that hardened criminals who have been discharged are using the young persons to carry out some of these offences. I think the last offence illustrates that. But we shall be stamping them out. We're going to go through them in every nook and every cranny and dig them out.
In the meantime, the government will bolster the resources of law enforcement.
We're going to make sure that we have more police presence around in all the different areas. We're going to encourage neighbors to have their watches organized. The police will be getting more equipment so they can do their jobs more efficiently. We're going to strengthen the Rapid Resource Department, the unit, so we can respond more quickly to crime. We're going to equip our police with more vehicles, more unmarked vehicles as well. That's very important indeed. We know the spots that the criminals normally congregate. We're going to be doing that and doing that significantly.
Well, that's update coming from Antigua and Barbuda with the Attorney General and Minister charged with public safety, the Honourable Stedroy Benjamin. Crime it seems as though it's affecting every single Caribbean nation in the sense that it's just exploding, and criminal elements, crime lords are gaining more and more influence, control, more power, and even that power goes beyond just their prison cells. It doesn't hold back anyone or anything from committing such heinous acts. Ladies and gentlemen, we now break for WSN's News on the Hour. And when we return, we'll welcome our guest this morning, our final guest, hopefully to the program, as we get into the discussions with what's taking place in the Panama Canal and how that can affect Trinidad and Tobago, especially with the cost of freight. We'll be right back after this. This is your WESN News on the Hour. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. Dennis Francis elected President of the UN General Assembly. UNC to contest all 141 local government seats. $150,000 bail for construction worker on sexual penetration charge. Regionally, another girls' dormitory was destroyed by fire in Guyana. With the details, I'm Keaton Shaw. In a history-making move, Trinidad and Tobago's permanent representative to the United Nations, His Excellency Ambassador Dennis Francis, was elected the 70th President of the UN General Assembly. It marks the first time that a nominee from Trinidad and Tobago has been elected to the UN General Assembly's presidency. The election took place at the United Nations headquarters in New York on Thursday morning. According to the UN Trinidad and Tobago, the UNGA President presides over high-level meetings, shapes the priorities of the General Assembly, and plays a crucial role in facilitating negotiations amongst member states. In a statement following the election, UN Trinidad and Tobago stated the country will continue to be the leading Caribbean voice, championing the needs of developing states. This hallmark of Trinidad and Tobago's global advocacy dovetails seamlessly with the stated priority of President-elect Francis to facilitate, among other conferences, the 4th International Conference on Small Island Developing States taking place in Antigua and Barbuda in 2024. UNC Deputy Political Leader Senator Julian Jean says the party will be contesting all 141 seats in the local government elections. She made the revelation on Wednesday as the party began screening for nominees with a focus on the southern areas. There are currently 139 seats. However, 2 additional seats were added in Couva and Mayaro. John said UNC have started screening South nominees. She said the party had nominees fully in hand for the current 139 seats last December, when the local government term was expected to end, and more than enough for the 141 seats. Meanwhile, the PNM will screen at venues in the 14 corporation areas. On Saturday, screening for the Sangre Grande 8 districts and Arima's 7 districts will be in the Arima Community Center. On Sunday, screening for the Tunapuna Piarco Corporation's 14 areas at the Cascadia Hotel in St. Anne's. A 30-year-old construction worker was granted bail with a surety in the sum of $150,000 or $15,000 cash alternative when he appeared at the Princess Towns Magistrate Court, charged with 2 counts of sexual penetration on Wednesday, May 29, 2023. The accused is not to have any contact with the victim or her immediate family members. He's also ordered to stay 500 meters away from the victim at all times. It is alleged that in May of 2020, the victim, who was 11 years old at the time of the incident, was at home in the suspect's bedroom, on his bed, watching television, when the suspect touched her inappropriately. Also in May of 2021, the victim was again at home when she went to use the microwave in the suspect's bedroom. He pushed her down on his bed and touched her inappropriately again. The matters were reported to the Princess Town Police Station, and the Special Victims Unit launched an investigation into the matter. The accused was arrested and charged on Saturday, 27th of May, 2023. He is expected to reappear in court on June 26, 2023. international news, a second girls' dormitory was destroyed by fire in Guyana. According to police reports, the blaze started shortly before 3 a.m., this time in a dorm at the Karsabay Rapanani in Region 9, which is to the south of Georgetown. There have been no reports of injuries. The cause of the fire is being investigated. The school, which is run by the Roman Catholic Church, was opened last August. The incident follows last month's tragedy in which a fire at the Medea Secondary School's female dormitory killed 20 students. A 15-year-old student has been charged with murder. And that's used to the hour here on WESN. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you for watching. We'll have more for you at the top of the hour.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing nowadays.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Welcome back to AM Prime, and thank you for staying with me this morning. We now go to Jamaica in terms of our regional updates as we continue this morning's edition of the program. As the local economy in Jamaica continues its growth momentum, now above that of pre-pandemic levels, the Planning Institute of Jamaica is in its latest preliminary estimates has reported real value-added gross domestic product of approximately 2.7% for the first quarter of 2023. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Dr. Wayne Henry, during a briefing held virtually on Tuesday, said the latest outturn for the reported January to March period reflects some 8 consecutive quarters of growth following fallouts incurred from the novel coronavirus pandemic. Let's take a look at this report from Jamaica.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Jamaica's economic growth is estimated to have exceeded pre-pandemic levels for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, has released preliminary data for the January to March quarter alongside the full fiscal year. Javon Keys reports.
Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, says growth estimates show a 2.7% increase for the January to March 2023 quarter, suggesting full economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic.
This performance reflects in part the impact of the retooling and expansion as well as pivoting undertaken by firms as they sought to manage the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. The preliminary outturn for the quarter resulted in growth of 4.3% for the fiscal year 2022-23 and represents full recovery in overall output levels from the impact of COVID-19, 1 year before the projected recovery date of fiscal year 2023-24.
For context, the first quarter in 2019, a year before the pandemic, saw Jamaica's gross domestic product increase by 1.7% and 1.9% for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Dr. Wayne Henry says for the output in the first quarter of 2023, growth was driven by increased demand for local goods and services.
Especially for Jamaica's tourism product. This was facilitated by the continued recovery in the economies of Jamaica's main trading partners and was reflected in the positive performances for the transport, hotels and restaurants, and other services industries. 2, increased domestic demand associated with the strength of the recovery, particularly in the hotels and restaurants and transport, storage and communication industries. And 3, the resumption of operations at the Jamalco alumina plant.
GDP was, however, tempered by a fall in the construction industry.
Due to a slowdown in works on major infrastructure projects, which are close to completion, and the negative effect of drought conditions on the agriculture, forestry and fishing, and the electricity and water supply industries.
Meanwhile, the PIOJ also estimates growth will be realized in the current quarter.
It is projected that the economy will grow within the range 2% to 3% relative to April to June of 2022, based on the continuation of the growth momentum in most industries.
Increased operations at Jamalco, along with improved domestic demand due to an expected uptick in employment once realized, will positively impact the period's performance. For the Business Day, I'm Javon Keys.
All right, we're about to welcome our guest in a moment or two, ladies and gentlemen. I think he is with us via Zoom. He is the immediate past president of the Shipping Association, Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Hayden Allen. The situation out in the Panama Canal has everybody keeping their eyes out as to the effects it will have on freight cost. Good morning, Mr. Alain. Could you hear me?
St. Kitts and Nevis has joined the regional.
Thank you very much for joining me, sir. The drought in the Panama Canal has instituted the Canal Authority to implement several restrictions. What are some of these restrictions that are now caused by the drought in the Panama Canal?
Well, in the main, what
The survival of
restrictions is a draft restrictions, and what that translates to is cargo restrictions. So vessels are really being challenged to come in lighter. So science behind it is that while it's a wonderful engineering feat for the country, it requires a lot of water, fresh water, for a ship to move through the 12 locks of the canal. This water comes from 3 neighboring lakes, and in recent years we have seen reduced average rainfall in Panama, and then this year we are seeing drought conditions. So the water levels in these lakes are very low. So the water supply the freshwater supply is low, and therefore they're putting some restrictions with respect to the draft of vessels coming in, by extension, the cargo loads, so that the lighter the vessel, the less water is used to traverse the vessel through the 12 locks of the canal.
Are we able at this point to have a greater understanding of what the impacts are, or are we still monitoring the situation?
We are monitoring the situation. As you can imagine, it's difficult to quantify at this moment the impact, but we know these increase. One, the reduction in cargo is going to mean that, supply for goods is going to go down, and you're going to have some impact on the freight rates, as well as lead times to import your cargo and so on. But to quantify that right at this moment is difficult.
So I know freight rates during the COVID-19 pandemic increased by about $3,000 to about between $3,000 and $5,000. At this point, as you just mentioned, it's very difficult to quantify the extent of the impacts. Therefore, has there been any further increases beyond what we saw in the COVID-19 pandemic?
No, but not as yet. In fact, for a lot of the Far East cargo, that would be cargo coming through the Panama Canal, rates have normalized somewhat to pre-COVID levels. During COVID, it went up to 200-300% more. But they came back and it's resembling pre-COVID levels. But we are not, while we might be seeing some incremental increases because these sanctions by the Panama Canal authorities are kicking in, it's not a runaway situation as yet to say that it is going to be 100-200% more what we see in COVID. I said it's early days, and we still monitor the impact.
Early days, are there any signs of significant improvement in the short term or long term?
Well, there's the thing with something driven by externality, such as environmental factor, right? It's difficult to say what is medium-term, long-term impact is going to be. The authorities are taking steps or are implementing these charges to sort of restrict cargo and draft coming through the canal. How long it would persist, I don't know. If we'll have rainfall, it's difficult to say. But this is an environmental factor, right? And we are seeing the environmental issue has been in shipping and around industry for years now. Now that we are feeling the full impact in shipping, and it is really affecting dollar value of freight, that we see the urgency with it. So it really has to be a macro sort of approach. We have to get to the point, escalate the conversation where not just in shipping, but across all industries, we are more environmentally conscious and doing things that are more environmentally sustainable in our business.
That's an excellent point. In fact, in terms of discussions with stakeholders, such practices that are environmentally stable, have they been more or less implemented and fully practiced, or there's a lot more need to be actually done?
A lot more to be done. In shipping, the last 3 years, all our meetings, conferences, and so on, focus heavily on the issue of decarbonization and climate change and the possible impact of that. Of course, there's this direct incident for us with Panama Canal. 6% of the global trade, they pass through the Panama Canal. A lot of our goods coming from the Far East come through the Panama Canal, so it is very pertinent to us now. But on the whole, I would know not enough is being done to, get, if there is a full solution for this, because this is nature you're speaking about. But in terms of practices that are more environmentally sustainable, we can do a lot more.
Now, let's get back more so to the financial side of it. How is this situation, this developing situation, going to impact, if it has not already done so, local manufacturers who are dependent on raw materials from the East?
The impact is going to be an increase in freight rates. The extent which across time, I can't say what it is, but we can expect some increase in freight rate.
And beyond just freight rates, because of the supplies that will be reduced due to the restricted weight, is that also going to contribute to inflation?
Of course. Inflation, you're going to see some delays in terms of getting your product. You will have to, if you normally take a 6 week, 2 months lead time to get products, you may consider taking a little longer, treating it as a longer lead time so you're able to get it. So these are things that could affect our manufacturing sector. These are trickle implications. But for the Panama Canal, this situation is a crisis for them. We are seeing we'll see some incremental in freight rates, delays in getting your cargo and so on. For them, it may be they cannot operate the way they intended to after they've invested how much, hundreds of millions of dollars to redo the Panama Canal in 2016. And if that is not viable, if that is not operational, if that reaches to the point where it is just, it cannot facilitate vessels coming through the Panama Canal, that is going to be a major trade block, a major challenge for but we don't want to get pessimistic or anything, but that is what we are looking at, and we are hoping that the Panamanian authorities could get some relief with whatever they're putting in place, and everyone else involved in industry really take charge and take lead with operating their businesses in an environmentally sustainable way. Because you can see the impact could be anywhere. We're thinking, well, it's probably the sun is hotter for me walking down the street or something like that. As we Trinis like to say, the sun real hot these days. And then we say, well, it's global warming. But these things have real implications, deep implications for global trade, for the standard of living everyone in this side of the hemisphere has been enjoying for some time. So I'm hopeful that at the very least, this is a catalyst, an impetus for us to do more in terms of environmentally sustainable activities.
Have any other alternatives been discussed among stakeholders with trying to get goods to Trans-Tobago in a more timely and efficient manner? I know 6% of the world trade, as you've mentioned previously, passes through the Panama Canal. But are there alternative routes that could prove more timely and perhaps cost-effective, given the situation within the Panama Canal?
The Panama Canal route has been established as the main route for us to get stuff from the Far East because it is the most efficient, it is the most cost-effective. You know, it cuts off a significant margin coming across the Pacific and just going through this gate and you're now in the Atlantic Ocean, as opposed to not really going to the end of the continent or taking it from the Far East across Europe and to Trinidad. It is established as the most efficient. There are other routes through Europe, through the Suez and so on, where you could go through from the Far East to Europe, but it's much longer and it's going to be more expensive. So maybe we could consider bringing it to West Coast US, trucking it to a port, and then bringing it down to our region. We have that a very mature north-south trade. So that could work. But I am sure everyone in the business involved in trade from the Far East are speaking to their agents and their freight forwarders and so on to see what sort of arrangements could be made to mitigate from this, the factors, the implications that will be arising out of it.
I'd like to bring up another factor that only adds to the situation and the cost of freight. It really compounds the overall issue, and that is in regards to duties and value-added tax on imported goods. Does there need to be a re-examination? Does this situation taking place right now furthers the need for a conversation, the re-evaluation or re-examination of duties and value-added tax on imported goods?
Yes, that conversation came up even during COVID when the rates, the freight rates were escalating so highly, and you were paying duties. Duties is also paid on your freight rates. So this situation, yes, is something that should be looked at again. But as you know, we have two major shipping. I would say two major shipping initiatives that are in play currently. One of which is the implementation of the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, which customs will now be part of. And with that, we understand that there is going to be a relook at the manpower side of things. It will be sensible there to also be a relook of the duties and VAT regime around categories of goods coming into the country and the level of duties and paid on those goods. And then the other major initiative we have around trade and our trade capacity in Trinidad is the public-private partnership for the operation of the Port of Port of Spain. So a lot of work is going on there. These are more, customs is the 1st of August, is supposed to be implemented, and it takes some time for them to reach a place of full operation. And the port, that PPP arrangement and redevelopment of the Port of Port of Spain is probably more of a medium-term thing. But things are being done on the policy to address the issue, to address trade facilitation and trade capacity and competitiveness.
And what about the issue of foreign exchange? Is that issue also furthering this overall situation?
Yes, I mean, the manufacturers of certain commodities what are considered necessities, they do get some relief from the Exim Bank, Export-Import Bank, in terms of access to U.S. currency. It continues to be a challenge in shipping because a number of shipping lines insist on being paid in U.S. currency. So it is a challenge for us, and we are making representation to the government, applying for access to foreign exchange to ease that burden, so that the major lines in particular are not strangled with this dilemma of having to repatriate their funds, their TT funds in U.S. It's very difficult. It has major implications. Some of the lines are threatening to reduce volumes to leave the market because it's so difficult to repatriate funds. So it's something that is critical and is being addressed at the association.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Allen, I think there's a lot more that we can get into, and I'm only too sorry of the difficulties we faced this morning technically, but we're out of time. So I want to thank you very much for all that we were able to get in and all that we were able to address. And I'd be in contact for further updates as this situation continues to develop. But thank you very much for now, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all listeners, and have a great day and weekend.
You too, sir. Keep well. All the very best. Mr. Hayden Allen, the immediate past president of the Shipping Association of Trinidad and Tobago. The drought in the Panama Canal obviously is having its effects. Not able to quantify the impacts as yet, though the cost of freight has normalized to what we would say is pre-pandemic levels. At this point in time, the supply of goods from the east, as well as the cost of freight, low supply, higher cost, that is certainly something to be concerned at, but thus far we haven't arrived at that point. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for AM Prime. Once more, I apologize for the technical difficulties this morning, but I thank my entire team for all their hard work and efforts, and I thank you, the viewer, for joining me this morning. I wish you a safe day ahead, may it be a productive one, and have a great weekend. May it be a safe one. May we enjoy it, and if ever you get the opportunity, or if not, just find the opportunity to do some self-reflection, we start the week better, brighter, more positive. But until Monday morning at 6 a.m., I'm Keaton Shaw. This has been AM Prime. Goodbye.
WESN.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers? Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial news.